Welcome back, everyone, to the Jamie Ross Show. I haven't had a show in a while, but I thought with the election season coming up, I thought it would be appropriate to have a return guest. And joining us today is the Essex County Clerk, Chris Durkin. And he's the guy whose signature is on everyone's ballot. So if there's anyone who should know anything about the upcoming votes, it should be Chris. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jamie. We're childhood friends, and I know the last time we were in person with an interview, 2008.
Oh my God!
Right, so that was the first Obama election. So that's 12 years. So it's been quite a bit of time.
Wow, that has been a while. Yeah. So normally with these interviews, I kind of wing it, but I actually prepared some questions, and I hope this first one isn't too general, but I can actually hold this one up for you. And
what is going on? That's A to Z. Well, I'll tell you. It looks like it's going towards a paper election all across the country. And
right.
Just as an example, 4 years ago, 2016, 25% of the voters voted by mail. This election, 4 years later, 2020, more than 75% of the voters will vote by mail. And Governor Murphy, because of the pandemic, issued an executive order making the primary and the general now a mostly vote by mail election. There will be, every registered voter will be mailed a vote by mail ballot, and we will mail those ballots September 28th, all registered voters, and then there will be polling places, a limited amount of polling places. Election day, every registered voter is going to receive a postcard telling them, here's your polling place. If you didn't vote by mail, you can vote on a provisional paper ballot. And those provisional paper ballots will count after all the vote by mail ballots have been counted.
Okay. Now we had this for the primary, and it seemed to work fine, but like the primary didn't really seem, it wasn't very critical as it is for this election. And Trump had a lawsuit against New Jersey. And did that get thrown out?
It didn't get thrown out, but it will. Here's when Governor Murphy issued the executive order, the lawsuit said in effect that you can't change an election process by an executive order. And then the New Jersey legislature backed up the governor with a law. So this election, the matter of the election, is now law. So the lawsuit's frivolous.
Okay. All right. So that's thrown out. And were there any glitches in the primary election with the mail-in ballots?
Well, in the primary, the executive order came late in how we were going to do it. We were to mail vote by mail ballots to all registered Democrats and all registered Republicans. And all unaffiliated voters not affiliated with a party, we were to mail applications to see if they wanted to be a part of the primary. And so, we received 15,000 applications back, 5,000 of which did not specify they wanted a Democrat or Republican ballot. So we couldn't send them anything based on the law. But, overall, and you said it, there really weren't any close races. The nominees were already decided. So that was fortunate in that, the process went well in that no one really saw that it took 3 weeks for the final results to happen after Election Day. But in a close race, people are going to notice that. So.
Right, absolutely. And so this is something I didn't do, but was there a way where I could actually track to see if my ballot was received?
Yes, so that's another improvement by the state where you need it on the Secretary of State's website, the New Jersey Division of Elections. So it's the New Jersey Division of Elections website. There is a part in there you can search, a voter search, but you need your voter ID number. But now, as part of the voter search. Like if you wanted to see if you're a registered voter, you put your name, you put your name, first name, last name, and the month and date, month and year of your birth, and they will give you your voter ID number. And then you can put your voter ID number into the program that's provided there, and it will tell you if your ballot has been received and what date it was received. Also, Essex Clerk, our website, the County Clerk's office, essexclerk.com, we will have a function where you can search your name and see if your ballot has been received by the Board of Election to be counted.
Okay, but then also there's no way of validating that you got my vote correct. I mean, there's.
No, you're right. So
yeah.
So it's interesting. There's a way of validating if it was received.
Right.
As far as whether or not it was counted, voters, that's another very important law passed, signed by the governor, passed by the legislature, where there's a cure period now, which previous to the primary, if your ballot was denied based on signature,
right,
based on lack of signature, your ballot was denied and you were never even notified. Now, by law, if your ballot is denied, that voter must be sent a letter within 24 hours of that denial. And now that voter has until November 21st, 18 days after Election Day, to update their signature on a cure letter. They can email it in, fax it in, hand it in. And just as an example, in the primary, 1,200 ballots were denied based on signature comparison. Out of those 1,200 ballots denied, 521 voters updated their signature and had their ballots counted.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the one thing I was really curious about. And how do you do the signature comparison?
So every registered voter has a signature on file. And that signature is either when you first registered, or maybe when you updated your registration at DMV, or maybe you updated your registration by changing your address. So your latest signature on file with any action you did as far as registration is your signature on file that gets printed and compared to your signature that's on your certification, which contains your ballot. So the ballot being mailed to you, you have to sign the certification envelope, and now that signature is compared to your registered signature. And there's 4 commissioners. There's 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats that make up the Board of Elections. They deny or accept every ballot based on signature comparison or lack of signature or an error. So that's a bipartisan process where the 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, like I said, will accept or deny a ballot. And by law now, which was not previous, they have to notify a voter within 24 hours of a denial that they can update their signature and have their ballot counted.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Now you said there will be less polling places and we'll get an update as to where ours are. Do you know like what we did have and what we're reducing that to?
Right, so it's the law and the executive order said that every municipality must have at least 1 polling place, or 50% of the polling places if board workers are available. So Essex County has enough board workers available, so we're 50% of the polling places. So if Maplewood had 6, they have 3.
Okay.
And if South Orange had 4, they have 2.
Okay. And I guess you guys coordinating where the signatures go should be seamless,
Yes.
Yeah.
It should be.
All right, cool. Do you recommend voting twice?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I do not recommend voting twice. You'll be questioned by the prosecutor's office. They'll visit you after the election if you attempt to vote twice.
Okay.
There's some people who are forgetful and they get the ballot. You might get the ballot 35 days before Election Day. You vote on it, and then you forget you voted on it. Okay, but then that's why you can then only vote on a provisional paper ballot, because they need to check, did you vote by mail already? And if you did, your provisional ballot's not counting.
Okay, so if you say, "Oh, I forget," then you won't get any penalties.
I'm not giving any coaching. I'm just giving you a scenario.
Okay, all right, but it's good to know that things are in place, especially with, is it, I guess the day of voting, they'll have, whether or not you send yours in, on file at the voting place, maybe if they received it within what, like 48 hours of the
So
actual vote?
you're talking about the vote by mail ballot coming in to be counted, or?
Yeah, like say I voted by mail a week before the actual election.
Yes.
Now, if I went if I went in person to vote, would they have that information on file at that time?
So that's a great question. And what the law says is that vote by mail ballots is the primary way of voting. So in this election, so ballots can come in through the mail up to 7 days after election day, as long as they're postmarked election day or prior. So the ballots have to be postmarked election day or prior to come in. If you put your ballot in a secure ballot drop box, and there's at least one in every municipality. There's one at the firehouse in South Orange. There's one outside the court building in Maplewood, Springfield Avenue. And that's to bypass the Postal Service, where there'll be daily pickups by the election offices to bring them back. Now, the reason why you're voting provisional paper ballot on election day is because those provisionals are not looked at until 8 days after election day. Because we have to wait till all the vote by mail ballots have come into the election offices, have been counted and verified. And then on the 8th day after election day, the provisional ballots are then checked one at a time to verify that the person did not in fact vote by mail, and then that they're a qualified voter, and then their ballot will count.
Okay, so I guess more like if I voted a week ago, and then I walk into the polling place, will that polling person
They're not
know?
going to stop you. No.
They won't know.
They will not stop you. They will not question you.
Okay.
They will not know. They
They
will
don't
allow you
have
to
that
vote on a
record.
provision.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll allow you to vote on a provisional paper ballot. And then, like I said, 8 days later after election day, that's when the provisionals will be checked on, and they will be checked against the vote by mail file to see if you voted by mail already.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. How do we know, if you do go in person, that the electronic machines have not been hacked?
Okay, so what's interesting about this election is only disabled voters can utilize the electronic voting machine, which they can only use the audio component of that voting machine. So so in other counties, there will be that full face voting machine. We will not have that in Essex County. We're not going to have the ballot on the machine where you can push the buttons of your choice. That will not be available. To get to your question about how every other county will have that, we're utilizing the optical scan machines, which you can only use the audio component and listen to the ballot and have a handheld device and make your choices on the handheld device. But as far as your hacking question, I will say this. Obviously, we all need to be vigilant when it comes to hacking. But the election process in America is run on the county level. It's managed at the county level. There is no national system of registered voters, no national system of programming machines. It's done on a county by county basis. It's done individually, machine by machine. It's very difficult to hack an election in America. People will say, oh, it's disjointed. It's, there's no national central network. In a lot of ways, that's a good thing that there's no national, because what you've seen is by bad foreign actors, by domestic foreign actors, it's not about hacking. It's about misinformation. That's what they've turned to. And if you watch it, it's all about misinformation, spreading misinformation. And we must combat that misinformation with facts, because they're trying to cause havoc by misinformation. And I've said people are falling for it. And we need to do everything we can to put out the facts and to stop the spread of misinformation. Right.
And all we hear about is Patterson. What happened?
Okay. So that's a case where the system and the process uncovered some suspected issues. It was actually the Postal Service that saw some ballots that were bound together in an elastic band, and that's what spurred the investigation. But I will say the FBI just testified to Congress saying that there is zero proof of organized voter fraud in America. Zero proof. So they've not uncovered any proof of organized voter fraud. So that Patterson case is under investigation. And like I said, the system saw something that needed to be investigated.
So would you are you giving us fake news or
No,
is this?
No. This is true. This is true. This is factual news. Coming, like I said, from the FBI, and then obviously the Patterson case is, just on the beginning of the investigation.
Right, and the Patterson case kind of was a proof that the system actually works more than not. So.
Exactly, that government officials on every level, so the county clerk is mailing the ballots, the federal sworn officers are delivering ballots, they're coming back in many ways. They're coming back through the secure ballot drop box, which is picked up by county officials every day, coming back through the federal officers of the post office, coming back in person, and then they're counted by a bipartisan commission, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. So the process is set up and in the right way to capture any issues that might arise.
Well, hopefully counties in other states have a clerk like you there who understand the process as well. I mean, overall, New Jersey's tends to vote a certain way, so our vote will count, but it's more critical in other areas. Is there a national, do you have a clerk gathering place, or is there a national level where you guys are kind of on the same page?
There is. Yeah, there's national organizations, meetings that people are invited to now on Zoom, used to be in person, conference call. But I will say that in 2000, the election of 2000, which was a wake-up call in Florida, George Bush, Al Gore election, which was a close race in Florida. And when there's a close race, it exposes issues. And we saw butterfly ballots, different voting methods that were not proper. And what happened due to that was in 2002, there was something called the HAVA, Help America Vote Act, and signed in 2002, which said that counties can only utilize voting methods, voting machines that are approved and certified by your respective Secretary of State. So that's really helped the process where counties could not just decide on any method, any machine based on their own approval process. It needed to be done by each Secretary of State. So I think that's improved the process quite a bit.
So is the butterfly ballot your excuse as to why Pat Buchanan is not our president?
That's right. That's exactly right. And the butterfly ballot, they thought they were voting because it comes, the candidates are on either side and
it's
you can't
crazy.
figure out. It's amazing that was approved.
Yeah.
In many counties.
Especially in Florida.
Especially, it had to be in Florida, right? Everything happens in Florida. Florida man. I love it.
Awesome. Well, I think you answered every question. And is there anything else I'm missing that people should need to know?
I would just say, everyone's voice should be heard. Jamie, that, you grew up, in a home where public service, meant everything. We need to earn our keep on behalf of America, of society, and we need to give back. And voting's our greatest right. Voting is freedom of speech, and I want to hear every voice heard in this election and every election.
Sounds good.
Thank you for your friendship and for inviting me.
All right, man. Anytime. And we're Columbia class of '87, so
right.
It's great to have you on here, and I'm so glad we had you back. I can't believe it's been 12 years. That's crazy. But anyway, hopefully maybe we'll catch you right after the election to see what's happening, just in case.
That'd be great.
Okay?
Thank you, Jamie.
All right, man.
I'm here.
Thanks so much for being on, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jamie. All the best.